So to check out this robot, which actually ranked 5th globally according to the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, I came to my own university, specifically the School of Mechanical Engineering, which actually I didn't go to this particular school. I went to the Faculty of Foreign Languages and Literature, just a few hundred meters that way, but you don't need to know that. So let's just head inside and check out this robot. When I say humanoids, I don't mean these. These are androids. I mean these. Robots that resemble the basic shape of humans. They have like a leg and a torso, hands and a head. They don't actually try to resemble the human face or the bodily features exactly as a human is. So I don't know if you noticed, but it was like a few years ago, maybe in 2017, where an android by the name of Sophia actually got the first citizenship of any robots in any country, which might sound a little creepy and a recipe for a dystopia. I can understand that, but on the other hand, humanoids do not really resemble humans and are, understandably a lot less creepy, if I may say. For now, humanoids are mostly just a tech demo. They're mostly for experimental and research purposes. They're a window into seeing how can we implement humanoids robots into our day-to-day life, and to see if there's actually a practical use for them in our homes, in industries, and for perhaps the elderly. But for now, they're mostly a tech demo, but in a decade or two, they won't be just a tech demo. I'm here with Pejman Abdullah-Nejad, the head of the Dynamics Control Department of Sorena Robots at the CAST lab. And the first thing that I want him to tell me is, tell me about the starting point of this project, where it all began.
اینجا کاست مرکز سیستم پناهی پیشرفته دانشگاه تهران هستش. سال 1184 که دکتر یوسفی کما از کانادا برگشتن و دانشگاه تهران اومدن اینجا رو تأسیس کردن و تو دو بخش پورتفولیوی تست و تحلیل سازه و دینامیک کنترل و روباتیک آغاز به کار کردند و حالا ما داریم تو بخش روباتیکش کار میکنیم. و اینکه حالا از معروف‌ترین پروژه‌هایی که اینجا هم انجام شده هم پروژه سورنا هستش که از سورنا 1 و حالا هم که سورنا 4 سال 98 رونمایی شد و سورنا 5 هم که الان ما داریم روش کار می‌کنیم.
So what were the different iterations? How were they different? Like what was the progression from Sorena 1 to Sorena 2 to 3 to 4? How was the progression like?
سورنا 1 که با هدف این که حالا به صورت دستیار مجری و تو برنامه‌های حالا آموزشی و یا برنامه‌هایی که برای کودک هستش، بله، برای اینا مثلا ساخته شد و یه سری قابلیت‌های درجات آزادی داشت که مثلا تو سر میتونست که 2 درجه آزادی تو سر داشت و حالا به اون سمت و در حد اینکه پاهاش هم پا نداشت و چرخدار بود ربات و میتونست حالا تو محیط هم حرکت کنه. سورنا 2 که همونطور که تو دنیا واقعا تو اون حوزه داره کار انجام میشه و شرکت‌های مختلفی دارن تو حوزه انسان‌نما کار میکنن، مثل شرکت هوندا که معرف‌ترین رباتشون همون آسیمو بود اون موقع سال 2011 ساخته شد. ما هم حالا تصمیم گرفتیم تو اون حوزه کار کنیم و سورنا 2 کم درجات آزادیش بیشتر شد و با هدف واقعا اینکه به سمت یک ربات انسان نمای واقعی بره ساخته شد.
What about Sorena 3?
سورنا 3 هم که تعداد درجات آزادیش بیشتر شد و یه گیرش خیلی ساده‌ای هم داشت، یعنی مجموعاً شد 34 درجه آزادی که همون 12 درجه تو پایین تنه بود و تو بالا تنه کمر و اینا هم بهش اضافه شد و میتونست خم بشه و یه سری کارا هم انجام بده.
And what about the fourth iteration?
ولی تو سورنا 4 حالا درجات آزادی به نسبت خیلی بیشتر شد و رو اون قسمت پنجه کار شد برای گیرش بهتر و مجموعاً شد 43 درجه آزادی که میتونست اجسام با اشکال مختلف هم بگیره، اونم که بیشتر همون هدف تعامل با انسانه، یعنی
like you can shake hands with it.
میتونست با دست بده و خیلی از کارهای از این قبیل میتونست انجام بده. مهمترین بحثش هم همون آنلاین شدن راه رفتنش بود و یه سری سنسورها به کف پا اضافه شدن که میتونست برخورد با زمین رو دیتکت کنه و بفهمه و به سمت راه رفتن دینامیکی هم پیش رفتیم که تو سورنا 3 استاتیکی بود و به نسبت سرعت پایین‌تر بود، اما تو سورنا 4 رسیدیم به سرعت 9 کیلومتر بر ساعت.
So actually, let's go to the robot itself and tell me about some of the different components. I know you work in the upper body section, and I'm going to have to speak with somebody else to know a little bit more about the lower body part. So let's head to the robot itself, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about the different components.
آماده باش.
چشم. من نسل 4 خانواده ربات انسان نمای ملی سورنا هستم.
I am with the man of the hour, Sorana 4, with also one of the engineers that works specifically on the upper body because everything has to be so particular about this robot. Negar Riyahi, can you tell me a little bit about the inner workings of, let's focus on the arm, for example. The degrees of freedom in the arm. How many degrees of freedom are there, and what are the degrees of freedom?
Of course. So there are 7 degrees of freedom in the arm. There is the pitch movement, the roll movement, the yaw movement, the pitch movement again, and finally the yaw, roll, and pitch.
Okay, you're going to have to explain the pitch and yaw and roll movements.
Yeah. Right. So the yaw movement is actually the revolving of any moving object around the z-axis. The pitch is movement around the y-axis, and the roll is the x-axis.
Okay, so roll is the x-axis, pitch is the y-axis, and yaw is the revolving around the z-axis.
Exactly.
All right. And the sensor, so the camera is here. This is from a Kinect, am I right?
That is correct.
Right, now, what can it do? Because I know that Kinect has an open source like API that can allow developers to actually work with it. What is it capable? What does it allow you to be identifying? I guess?
So it is able to identify an object that is going to grasp. For example,
right.
It can detect a human and actually follow the movement of the human with its head. So yeah, it makes the humanoid actually more human-like.
Right, in its identification of the surroundings of it.
Yes.
So let's say it's identified an object, let's say a mug, and it decides to pick it up. So from the moment that we give it the commands to actually pick it up until it actually picks it up, what goes on through the brain? Or, I mean, maybe the brain isn't here, the brain is probably back there. What goes on in its brain to decide what path to take?
The arm robot is actually a redundant robot. So redundant means it has an extra degree of freedom, so it can have different configuration and paths to actually get to the point that we want it to go.
Right.
So we use an optimization algorithm there. Okay. So the optimization algorithm solves the problem for us. We ask it that, okay, the end effector, I want you to go to this specific location. The end effector, we decide on it ourselves. For us, it's actually a specific point at the palm of the hand actually.
Okay.
And there are some constraints. We ask a kid to not go to specific degrees on the.
Right. For example, not move the arm in this direction. So that's an absolute. That's a big no-no.
Exactly.
It can only go like this.
Yeah.
All right. And what about the feet? What's the improvements that have been made to the feet? Because I know that Surana 4 has something that the previous Suranas didn't have in the feet.
Yeah, so there is a sensor that has been made, custom made actually for Surana 4, and it is these arms that come out, and the thing about them is when they come in contact with an uneven terrain, something that is not expected in the path of the smooth ride.
It's anything but a flat train.
Exactly, yeah. So it detects it, it realizes it, and it
adjusts the foot,
yeah,
the
exactly,
angle and everything.
yeah,
So the moment it comes into contact and it realizes, oh, this is not a flat terrain, it's adjusts the angle, and also I guess it also affects how the left foot or the right foot, the other foot is going to be moving.
Exactly, that is
forward.
yeah.
All right. I think I have a slightly better understanding of this because I know there's like a whole lot more to talk about with this robot, but I think I have a better understanding overall of how this works. So thank you very much, Negos.
You're welcome.
Let's wrap up the show. Now, I was going to use this time to say goodbye, but I felt that I really have to share the personal experience that I have with this particular set of sensors right here. So the way that this robot understands its surroundings and, knows what the people in front of it are doing and tracks their motion is through a little-known console extension by the name of Kinect, which came out in 2010 for the Xbox 360. Now, I actually had one of these when I was like 13 or 14, I think. And generally speaking, like it was supposed to revolutionize the way we interact with games. It didn't really do that, but I still remember that I have some really fond memories of some games that I played with the Kinect. Like this particular game that I really have some fond memories of is there was this puppet, a gun-slinging puppet that would be attached to a string with to the hands of a puppet master. So you would be controlling that puppet with your left hand, kind of like a puppet master would, and with your right hand you would be controlling the crosshair, locking onto enemies, and then pull the trigger like this, and it blew my 13-year-old mind. So while that game I really liked, but overall the Kinect wasn't received super well by the gaming community. It just never really hit. It just never really had a good collection of games to become popular with the gaming community. But that wasn't the end of the Kinect. That really wasn't the reason why it didn't fail. While it failed in the gaming community, it didn't fail in a different department, which was among the developers. It actually found a really strange niche community of developers who took advantage of the open source information that you can get from the sensors here. There's a wide-angle regular RGB lens here. There's an infrared sensor here and an IR projector. So this is how it maps the environment, and it can understand the people's motions, and that's exactly how this robot does it. So that was kind of a random anecdote. That was kind of a random personal history that I had with the Kinect, but I kind of felt obligated to share it. So yeah, there's that. It's always a pleasure whenever I step back into one of the campuses or faculties of the University of Tehran, because it gives me a sense of belonging to a heritage, a long history of some of the greatest minds in the history of the country. And oftentimes you see a lot of the people that are behind the best projects in the country coming from, a faculty like this one. And I have a feeling that sometime in the future, we might be coming back to this particular faculty, the Faculty of Engineering, to check out maybe another project being done at the heart of this faculty. So, but what I am not really hopeful is coming back to my own faculty, because, let's be honest, there's not a lot of tech coming out of the Faculty of Foreign Languages and Literature. So I wouldn't hold my breath for that. But either way, thank you all for watching. That's been it for this week's episode of Iran Tech. I'll see you guys next week.